I wrote the story, The Park, about, three coming of age boys going into an abandoned, closed down amusement park. And they come to find that the park is actually alive and it's functioning, but on its own terms. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away. But as I looked back at the park, I thought, I'd like to. I didn't plan on a trilogy or a series or anything like that, but I wanted to have boys sneak into an abandoned zoo, you know, and the excitement there and what they might find, but take it a bit further. And it's not just a place that used to be a zoo, but it's a place that breeded real rare animals, not dinosaurs like Jurassic Park, but animals that we know and we see, but are mutated or altered in some way or another. Sometimes dangerously, sometimes curiously um, friendly when you don't expect them to be. So as I was writing, that's when it became Zoo BoyZ, and I thought, well, I'll just use the same three boys because I love those characters. And that's the whole thing with what I'm writing. I don't care if anybody necessarily reads it, but those who do read it, I want it to be exciting and interesting and memorable characters and a memorable environment that they can enjoy that I've gone through, even if only in my head. And the one thing with writing is that it helps slow my mind down because I have racing thoughts very often. It's like watching TV and flipping the channels and only catching parts. So writing forces me, same with drawing, it forces me to slow down my brain and control it at least a little bit. So with the Zoo BoyZ, I used the same three boys, but I introduced a couple of new characters. And what's funny is I had just had my C6 surgery, and they go in through the front here. So your voice is very sore and rough. And I think even though it's been, that was the end of June, and now it's, early October, but my voice is still different than it used to be. But that gave way to a character I wrote called Bob Stern, and he's like works right underneath the chief editor of the newspaper, and he's got this real gravelly, rough voice, almost like I picture that guy in Men in Black, the first one, where he's like, "It's an all-night kegger," and his voice is very rough, and he keeps coughing and coughing. And little did I know, I was just kind of coughing, and I wrote it into the part. And then when I read it, it was easy for me to do because that's what was happening with my voice anyway. Not that I'm Bob Stern or anything, but it plays out as the story goes on and at the end. So, as I finished Zoo BoyZ and then I recorded me reading it, I thought, well, even as I was finishing writing it, the boys mentioned these Kideaters, these strange animals that they meet, and they're like, these are Kideaters. And the boys decided that would be a good name for a comic book based on them. And so that's when I took it and said, okay, let me just take it into a third in a series of these three boys and call it the Kideaters versus the Zoo BoyZ. As I'm writing that now, October 2020, 10/2020, um, I want to explore the different characters and new characters again. And as I'm writing it, I sometimes will write out like phonically how someone would speak with a real southern accent and how they can take one word syllable and turn it into a three-word syllable. I'm trying to think of a sample in my head of that, but it's uh, like this: sal, a solution, and as I'm writing it, I'm realizing, okay, it's neat when you're reading it to read it phonically the way the guy's saying it, but you also have to be able to translate it so that the reader knows what it's saying. But also, when I'm reading it to record it so that the story is read to you, um, I have to be able to read it. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe I will just write it out the way it would be read normally, but I'll add the southern accent. Now, in the first book, The Park, there was a boy, a man, uh, with a very strange accent, and I called my daughter Kiri, who's got her degree in literature and education and language and all of that, and going on with her education with all of that. And I said to her, "How do I write this accent? How do I write different people's things?" And she said, "Well, what kind of accent is it?" And I said, "I don't know. It's just one that I have in my head." And he says things like, "There is a vil, there is a ve." And I said, okay, well, maybe that's Russian, or maybe it's some type of German. I don't know. Um, but as I'm reading it, it's just coming out, or writing it, it's just coming out on the paper. Well, there's a very strange character in Zoo BoyZ, and that will also be in Kideaters, who is deceptive with his accent. You're not sure what he's doing because sometimes he speaks with a nice British accent, which I can't do very well. But other times he's got a real Southern drawl, and other times uh, he has other, Polish or Jewish or I don't know, just trying to think of all the different Swedish, Scottish, with a Scottish brogue or something like that. Look at this. He's got a huge head. Look at the cranium on that boy. He's got his own solar system, something, I don't know, something like that. And every time the man speaks, especially to the boys, he's got a different accent. And that just makes his character where you really aren't sure what's going on with this guy. Um, and it worked out for the story, and it worked out for me doing it. Sometimes because of my flaws, and my flaws can actually make it into something that may be interesting to somebody else. So when you read it, you're not really sure what's going on, but then at the end, it finally all pulls together. And I hope that's the way this series will be, that people will enjoy these coming of age boys, their family members, people they meet, people in authority above them, people with different characteristics that they like and they pick up and adapt, or that they don't like and they know, when I grow up I don't want to be like that. It's been really great writing it. It's been really fun writing it, and I really love finishing it and then actually being able to record it. Um, and I'm putting it out there for anybody who, may enjoy it also. And I hope that they do. But I'm not going for some type of popularity contest. And I know for a fact that some people will not want to read it or listen to it or give any interest to it because it's not necessarily for everyone. Just like music or anything else in the arts. There's some people that just won't get it, and some people that don't want to get it, and then some people that will really get it. And that's what it's for. And I'm just glad that I have the opportunity to do it.